Okay, so I'm going to be talking about my signature assessment project. So just table of contents. I'm going to start with our meeting agenda, vision statement, issue in the classroom, my focus question, my article, my baseline data, intervention number one, implementation of intervention number one, and the results for number one. And then my modification to intervention number one, implementation of modified intervention, the results for the modified intervention, the summary, and then my next steps. So again, our agenda here, start off with my vision statement. I'm going to discuss my signature assessment with you guys. So I'm going to talk about my issue, focus question, article, intervention, and my modification, and my implementation and results. Okay, so just going over my vision statement. I want to create, provide, and expand positive, life-changing experience through music, to nurture lifelong learning and the pursuit of music making by creating and providing quality opportunities and experiences for everyone, to create a band program that will help develop students to become musicians, allowing my students to not only become performers but also learn leadership, hard work, and dedication through learning their musical craft. Okay, so just a little bit of background information here, giving you an idea about the band program itself. At Ryle High School, we have 3 band programs. They're set up Symphony Band 1, Symphony Band 2, Symphony Band 3, and then we have a class just for our percussion students. This is important because it kind of gives you some information as to the students I'm going to be talking about, which is Symphony Band number 3. So a little bit more information. All the students audition to try and be in the top band. That's an honors course. That's the band that all the students want to be in. And the way that it works is in March, all students are given music to audition. And for example, all the flutes have all the same music. All the clarinets have all the same music. And the way that it goes is we bring in judges that are non-biased. We'll bring in local band directors that don't know the students, and we do that on purpose so there's no bias in there. But the way that it works is in the top band, for example, we'll take 6 to 8 flutes. And so the person that's judging the flutes, we might have 30 people audition on flute, he'll rank them in order. And so when we go to make our set list for the top band, we'll get the top 6 or 8 flutes, and then they'll be in Symphony Band 1. And then the next highest chair flute, they're going to be in Symphony Band 2, and then that bottom group, they're going to go to Symphony Band 3. Just a little bit of background information with that. So it's kind of a breakdown of the instrumentation. Like I said, 8 flutes, we'll have 2 oboes, 12 clarinets. And this top group is the group that performs the most. They perform about 6 times throughout the year. And they perform what's known as grade 5 music. The way that it's separated in music is it's a different classification system. Beginning 6th grade bands, about after they've been playing for a few months, they can maybe play about a half grade, so about a 0.5 grade music. By the end of their 6th grade year, they should be playing a grade 1 music. 7th grade, they should be able to play grade 2, 8th grade, grade 3, and as they get into high school, they should be able to play grade 4 and grade 5, and get into college, should be playing grade 5 and grade 6. So our top band is about at a grade 5 level band. Second group, same sort of thing. It's a little bit larger, but that same instrumentation for the most part is there. Just now instead of 8 flutes, we have 12, but the instrumentation overall is about the same. This group performs about 4 times throughout the year, so not as many as the top group, but they still perform, and they're at about a grade 4 level performance. And then Symphonic Band 3, this is a group I'm going to be talking to you guys about. This is our smallest group, and quite honestly, it's not necessarily a remedial group, but it's a group that needs the most work on fundamentals. We have 47 students, so again, that's the smallest band class. Okay, so they perform about 2 times a year, and that's because most of the time they're working out of a workbook. We have 2 sets of workbooks. One's mainly on rhythm, one's mainly on scales and note reading. So most of the time they're just working on these fundamental skills. And a little bit of information about the percussion class as well too. Just to give you an idea how much time we focus on fundamentals, the top group, 95% of the year they're working on music for their next performance, only about 5% of the time is fundamentals. Second band, 60% is getting ready for a concert, 40% is fundamentals. And then in my group, this third group, about 20% of the time is focused on music, while 80% is focused on fundamentals. And percussion is about half and half. And that number is important because my assessment is talking about when they go to sight read music for the first time, and how they don't spend a lot of time looking at official sheet music. I think that might have something to do with my assessment. Okay, so I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but sight reading, it's just when a musician looks at music for the first time and how well they can read the music. Okay, why is it important? It allows the band director to know what level the band can perform at, and allows the band director to set a plan in action for the upcoming performances. So when a group goes to read or sight read for the first time, we know that they're not going to play everything exactly perfect. If they do, then the music's way too easy. Getting a concert ready is normally about a 6-week to 2-month process, and so if they can play it perfectly the first time through, then it's too easy for them. If they can barely get through it at all, it's going to be too hard for them. So you have to find that kind of perfect in between. Okay, so my issue in the classroom. Like I said, the majority of the time is not spent on sight reading and preparing for concerts, but working out of our workbooks. And our 2 workbooks are I Recommend and 101 Rhythms and Rest. Okay, my issue in the classroom is the sight reading. We're getting ready for our second performance, our end of the year concert. And when we first sight read new music, it was about at their level, and about a grade 2, grade 3 level. And the students did not perform at a high level. They played incorrect notes, they did not perform in the correct key signature, they did not play correct rhythms, they did not perform with the characteristic tone. Although percentage of error is expected, like I said before, we have to find that kind of in between. It was obvious that they did not read at a very good level. Okay, so my focus question. How can students' sight reading improve as they play through a piece of music for the first time? Okay, so I went trying to find articles about how to sight read with students, because I'm sure, because like I said, I gave them the appropriate music, but they weren't performing at the right level. So I was looking for things for myself to improve on as well. And I found a fantastic article. It's called The Effect of Sight Reading Instruction on Performance Achievement of Wind Players in High School Bands. So it's exactly what I was looking for. And this was by Dr. Jacqueline C. Smith from the University of Hartford. And so the article is there. Okay, so again, this is a little bit of baseline data for the first time that we read through. I know it's a little hard to see, but this is a 4 all the way up to a 1. So essentially a novice up to a distinguished. And as you can see, this is the rubric that the state level uses. And for the most part, it was pretty much novices. The group did not perform at a very high level. Some of these sections are characteristic sounds, like is it a good sound on their instrument? Was it right pitches, right balance and blend, right tuning, dynamics, and so on. Okay, So implementation of intervention number one. After our first sight reading of the piece Sailor Song, it was obvious that I needed an intervention. So I chose Dr. Smith's checklist methods to help focus the student performance. So she has a list of 8 steps that she likes to use when sight reading a piece with her group. Key signature, meter and time, the repeats, the tempo, the style, dynamics, articulation, and the overall tricky areas. So she goes through all those pieces before the group reads the music. Here's the rubric that I was talking about a little bit earlier, state level rubric. Okay, so this is the results for number one. And as you can see, the group had really improved after using these steps. The only thing that was still a novice was tuning. That was something we still need to be working on. But I even had 1 or 2 sections, or actually just one, dynamics that went up to a distinguished rating. So overall, it was a much better sight reading for the group. Okay, so, but after doing it, I saw I needed to make a modification. The issue that I had was 2 things. First off, it was just too long. 8 steps was just too many steps for students to not get engaged. There were, I could tell about halfway through, I was just losing students. And then the next item was there wasn't very much student involvement. It was very teacher oriented. It was just me explaining things. And so they didn't feel like they were involved. So I fixed that with 2 steps. I changed, I have a little acronym here called STARS. Same idea, key signature, time signature, accidentals, rhythms, and signs. So I still go over for the most part her steps, but it's a little bit shorter, a little bit more condensed. And the other part is I have the students get involved with this as well. Under accidentals and rhythm, I actually have our first chair players, our section leaders of the groups, actually whisper to their groups and show them, like if it's supposed to be an F or an F sharp, they show that to their section. So it gets the students involved, and it's a little bit less of me talking. So implementation, just exactly what I was kind of talking about, trying to implement that and having the student be more involved instead of me talking the whole time. Okay, so the results of the modified intervention. Overall, this was by far the best. I feel like this is the best system. It takes Dr. Smith's ideas and at the same time allows the students to be more involved, and it's a shorter process, which is great because at the state assessment level we only get 5 minutes to sight read. Okay, so my summary. In conclusion, using these steps to sight read radically helped the group's ability to read through their assigned music. From simply discussing and air playing, that's something that we do where I'll just have the students just kind of act like they're playing, so they're actually not making a sound, but they're able to kind of practice through the music. That's what I did the first time. To now having a set regimen of performance steps for the group's ability to sight read, and it has really improved. Okay, so the next steps. The next steps for the group will be to sight read some more pieces. Again, I'm still trying to find the right music for them for this upcoming concert. And similar to the fact that there are many books and reading classifications that would be the same difficulty, there are many pieces of music in their reading range that might be too easy or too hard, so kind of what I was explaining before. Next steps, so for next school year, I plan on implementing this right off the bat, so the students are able to sight read all the music a whole lot easier. Okay, do I have any questions?
So do they like this new system that you've implemented, or do the students, like from their perspective, do they prefer the old way?
I think overall they like this new system because now it's a little bit more of a procedure. Like they know what to expect, they know how to go through it, and yeah, just like anything new, the first time they did it, they didn't really like it because again, that's why I did the modification. Was it just took too long? It was too much of me talking, explaining, and so they thought it was okay. But now that they're kind of involved with it, they really like it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.